So imagine you are a general manager at a car dealership.
Okay.
It's the end of the month, right? And you are sitting on your scheduled Zoom call with your marketing agency.
A familiar scenario for a lot of people listening.
Oh, absolutely. And the account manager pops onto the screen. They've got this, pristine, slightly blurred background, a beautifully branded slide deck, and this incredibly confident, reassuring voice.
Naturally.
And for the next 20 or 30 minutes, they walk you through some very impressive looking graphs. They're talking about your Google Ads performance, your meta campaigns, lead volume, cost per lead, click-through rates.
All the standard metrics.
Right, exactly. And the graphs are generally pointing up and to the right. The numbers look incredibly official. The recommendations sound super polished. And as you sit there listening to them talk about audiences and keyword bidding, you naturally assume that the person on the screen is the person actually running your advertising.
Yeah. And I mean, it is entirely by design that you made that assumption. Human beings are, we're visually wired to connect the messenger with the message.
Right.
If someone can articulately explain a complex system to us, we just subconsciously credit them with building and operating that system.
But according to the research we are digging into today, most of the time, they are not operating the system.
No.
Not at all. And that assumption you make, that is the mirage. So our mission for this deep dive is to completely unmask the illusion of this very meeting.
It's a really important topic.
It really is. We're pulling from this eye-opening document today called The Marketing Mirage, Unmasking the Agency Accountability Gap.
Right.
And we are going to figure out what actually happens in that dark, mysterious space between your marketing budget and the ultimate goal, which is, selling cars.
Right, because the central thesis we are unpacking here is that the individual on the screen, the one presenting those beautiful graphs, is almost never the person building your campaigns, or adjusting your budgets, or checking your search terms. They are the face. They are not the hands.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this. It's like going to a fancy restaurant, right? And you compliment the incredibly polite waiter on the meal, and you just assume they were the one in the back actually cooking it.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The account manager is a relationship manager. Their primary professional skill is keeping the account calm and retaining your business.
Wow.
And that separation, it creates this massive, largely hidden gap between the dealer and the actual levers of their marketing.
But hold on, let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
In almost any major industry, specialization is the norm, right? Like if I buy a high-end car, I don't expect the salesperson in the showroom to be the person who physically bolted the engine together on the assembly line.
Sure.
I want a hyper-specialized engineer doing the technical work and a customer service expert handling my relationship. So if I'm a dealer, shouldn't I actually want a specialized back-end team managing the technical clicks while a local person manages my relationship? I mean, why is that inherently a bad thing?
Well, that is the exact defense an agency will use, right?
Yeah.
But it fundamentally misunderstands what marketing actually is.
Okay, how so?
Building a car is a static process. Once the engine is bolted together, it does not change. But marketing, especially digital marketing, is a dynamic, living ecosystem.
I see.
It requires constant feedback. If your showroom is getting 50 leads a day, but none of them can get financed, the marketing strategy has to change by the hour.
Right, right.
So the problem with the agency model isn't the specialization itself. It's the accountability gap that it creates.
Okay, so let's break down that accountability gap. What does that actually look like in practice when things go wrong?
Well, let's go back to your Zoom meeting. Let's say your showroom was just an absolute ghost town this past weekend. Exactly. And you ask the account manager, why did our leads drop? They look at their dashboard and say something like, well, we saw some changes in local auction competition, and we are making optimizations to counteract it.
Which sounds like a highly competent, proactive answer.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
But it begs the question, who is we?
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting. When the account manager says, we made optimizations, who exactly is that?
Exactly. Did the person saying those words actually log into the platform?
Did they look at the search terms that wasted the budget? Did they listen to the BDC calls to hear why the leads were so bad?
In the vast majority of cases, no. They simply read a dashboard and updated a PDF. They did not pull the levers.
Wow.
And the agency, well, they have zero incentive to make the actual fulfillment chain visible to the client. Because the more visible that chain becomes, the less magical and competent the agency looks to you.
The illusion fades.
Right. Their entire pitch is built around unified expertise. We have a dedicated automotive team. We know your specific market. But when you pull back the curtain, you find that the word "we" is doing an incredible amount of heavy lifting.
Yeah, I really want to look behind that curtain at the machinery running this illusion because our source material gets into the economics of something called white labeling. And honestly, this blew my mind.
Yeah, if you want to understand the modern agency business model, you really have to look at the economics of white labeling. Let's trace the actual chain of command.
Let's do it.
So, behind that polished account manager on your Zoom call might be an internal strategist.
Okay.
And behind that strategist is often a media buyer. But behind that media buyer might be a third-party white label vendor.
A completely different company.
Exactly. And behind that vendor might be an overseas fulfillment team that the dealership has never met, never approved, and never even knew existed.
There is this absolutely blunt, shocking quote in our source material from a white label PPC provider.
Oh, I know the one.
Yeah, it's wild. And for context, PPC is basically the model where you pay a fee every time someone clicks your digital ad, like on Google search results. Anyway, this provider uses this quote to pitch their services to advertising agencies. It literally says, you own the client relationship, we do the PPC work, and you take all the credit.
It's just out there in the
I
open.
was like, read that again, you take all the credit. It's basically slapping a luxury logo on generic labor.
Exactly.
I'm paying premium retail agency fees thinking I have a specialized automotive team, but I'm actually buying wholesale outsourced labor with a markup.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not a conspiracy theory. It is the stated, marketed business model of these agencies.
The dealership sees the agency logo. They hear from the agency account manager.
They pay the premium agency invoice, but the actual campaign work is happening invisibly, managed by an entirely different company.
So why do agencies build their businesses this way? We're talking about labor arbitrage, right?
Yes, labor arbitrage. It all comes down to overhead and profit margins. An agency charges a business a monthly retainer, say $5,000 a month, to manage their advertising.
Right.
To survive and grow, the agency needs to keep enough of that $5,000 to pay their account managers, their office lease, their software subscriptions, and still return a profit to the owners.
And hiring a team of hyper-experienced, in-house technical experts who deeply understand the automotive industry, well, that isn't cheap.
It is incredibly expensive. If they have to hire specialized Google Ads experts and Meta Ads strategists in-house, their margins get squeezed to almost zero.
Yeah.
So the solution is labor arbitrage. The agency goes to a white label provider who offers generic ad fulfillment at a fraction of the cost, maybe a few $100s per account.
Wow.
The agency pays the provider the wholesale rate, charges the dealer the retail rate, and keeps the massive spread. Some of these providers openly boast about securing 40 to 60% profit margins for the agencies that hire them.
But I feel like we need to be fair here, right? Outsourcing itself isn't inherently an evil practice.
No, absolutely not. There are phenomenal specialists and offshore analysts who do world-class work. Outsourcing can be a highly legitimate way to scale a business. The core problem identified in the source material is not the geographical location of the worker.
The problem is the secrecy,
Yes.
the opacity. It's the fact that the dealership thinks they hired one specific entity and they are receiving something completely different.
Right. The person asking the GM for $10,000 more in ad budget has no idea where the last $10,000 actually went.
Which brings us to the so what question for the listener. Like, if I'm a business owner, maybe I don't care whose fingers are physically typing on the keyboard as long as the leads are coming in.
Sure. That's a common perspective.
Why does this separation of duties actually hurt the dealership's bottom line? Why can't a good account manager just act as a middleman?
Well, let's tackle that, because this is where the system actively breaks down. Account management is fundamentally not campaign management. An account manager might be incredibly organized, they might send polite emails, and they might be great at reading a PDF report out loud. But they don't have the technical or automotive context.
Right, they don't know why your specific BDC hates the leads this week.
Exactly. And the operational breakdown happens because of scale. White label fulfillment depends entirely on achieving massive scale to maintain those cheap prices.
Because they're doing this for hundreds of dealerships.
Exactly. And to scale rapidly, you cannot build bespoke campaigns from scratch every time. You need repeatable systems. And to have repeatable systems, you must rely on templates.
Right. When we say templates, we mean cloned ad copy, duplicated campaign structures, identical audience targeting parameters, just copy and pasted from one dealership's account to another.
Yep. regardless of whether that dealership is in downtown Manhattan or rural Texas.
Wow.
A generic template is entirely blind to a specific dealership's reality. It doesn't know that your used car manager is desperate for trade-ins this week because auction prices are too high.
Or that your finance department is uniquely great at getting high payment trade relief leads approved, but terrible with generic bad credit leads.
Right. It doesn't know you have a massive Spanish-speaking demographic opportunity in 2 specific zip codes. It doesn't know a lead from a buyer.
Okay, so wait. This just clicked for me. Everyone in this scenario could technically be telling the truth, right?
Yes.
The platform says conversions are up, the agency says performance is at benchmark, but the sales manager on the floor says nobody is showing up. They are just measuring completely different realities.
You just hit on the exact concept of blind optimization. This is the most dangerous part of the entire Mirage.
Okay, let's really break down how this works mechanically, because we aren't just talking about a passive failure. We are talking about a system that actively optimizes for the wrong things.
To understand blind optimization, you have to look at how platforms like Meta and Google actually function today. They're driven by machine learning.
Yeah.
You give the algorithm an objective. For example, getting a user to fill out a lead form. The algorithm tests hundreds of variations, and when someone fills out that form, it goes hunting across the internet for more people who share those exact behavioral traits.
So the algorithm is essentially a heat-seeking missile.
Exactly. But consider what happens if the target is simply a lead form fill. The algorithm does not know if that person actually showed up to the dealership and bought a car.
Right. It doesn't know if that person has a terrible credit score or if they just clicked the ad because they thought they were winning a free iPad.
So the hidden offshore operator only gets feedback from the platform data. They look at Meta, and Meta says the cost per lead is dropping and the click-through rate is rising. So the operator thinks they are doing a fantastic job.
It's like a fitness tracker that only measures arm movement, right? You
Yeah.
could literally sit on the couch eating potato chips, shake your wrist vigorously for 10 minutes, and the tracker would congratulate you for running a mile.
That is a brilliant analogy, yes. The data says you are hitting your goals, but reality says something completely different. They feed more budget into that cheap click campaign, effectively shaking the fitness tracker while sitting on the couch.
Meanwhile, back at the dealership, the Business Development Center, the BDC, is pulling their hair out. They are calling these leads and getting disconnected numbers or people who have zero intention of buying a car.
This creates those 2 completely separate realities we talked about. On the monthly Zoom call, the account manager pulls up the dashboard and says, "Great news, conversions are way up."
But the sales manager on the floor is looking at an empty room saying, these leads are complete garbage.
Right. If you only optimize for cheaper clicks, without any feedback from the showroom floor, without knowing which specific ad angle created serious conversations that led to a sale, you create a machine designed solely to please the dashboard.
And dashboards don't buy cars.
Exactly. Dashboards do not buy cars.
Okay, so if I'm a general manager listening to this, I'm probably sweating right now.
I would be.
I mean, I'm looking at my calendar, seeing a marketing meeting next week, and wondering if my entire digital strategy is just a mirage. How does a business leader take back control? Do they have to become a Google Ads expert?
No, they do not need a technical degree. The source material outlines a very specific framework for piercing this illusion.
Okay.
And it starts with asking the aggressive, direct questions that nobody in that Zoom meeting expects. You have to force those invisible layers out into the open.
What are those specific questions?
You need to look the account manager in the eye and ask, who is actually inside my Meta account making changes?
Wow, just directly like that.
Yes. Are any of these services being white-labeled to a third-party vendor? What specific mechanical changes were made in the last 30 days, and what is the name of the person who made them?
You are testing the accountability chain. You are forcing the waiter to introduce you to the chef.
Exactly. And then you must force them to bridge the gap between their metrics and your outcomes. You ask, which specific campaign produced our sold units this month?
Right. What percentage of the leads booked, showed, and sold?
Now, the source material notes a fantastic litmus test for how the agency will react to this.
Let me guess. They get defensive.
Bingo. If you ask these questions and the agency can answer clearly, if they can say, here is our in-house media buyer and here's how they shifted the budget based on your feedback, then you have a strong, transparent partner.
But if they start using corporate jargon to deflect?
Right. If they say, well, we use a proprietary blend of fulfillment partners that we do not disclose, That tells you everything you need to know.
Okay, let's unpack this new rule for dealers. If the person explaining your ads cannot tell you who is running them, what changed, and how it helps sell a car, you aren't looking at a strategy. You're looking at a mirage.
There's a quote in the text described as the final insult of the agency model. It states, "The closer someone is to the dealer, the less they touch the ads.
Hmm.
The closer someone is to the ads, the less they understand the dealership."
Oh, wow. That exact gap is where the money disappears. It's where bad leads are born and where reports become pure theater.
Absolutely.
So, to summarize for you listening, while this deep dive focused heavily on car dealerships, this framework is truly the ultimate BS detector for any outsourced B2B relationship you might have.
Any industry at all.
Right, whether you're running a dental practice, a law firm, an e-commerce brand, you are buying accountability and business outcomes, not automated reports, not a polite, calming conversation once a month.
You have the right to know whose hands are on the levers of your business. And this raises an important question for the future, something really worth thinking about.
Okay, what's that?
If an agency's entire business model relies on keeping you in the dark to protect their margins on generic, templated work, what happens when AI tools inevitably allow businesses to automate that exact same campaign structure in-house for a fraction of the cost?
Oh, man.
Will these agency relationships survive when the Mirage becomes completely transparent?
That is such a provocative thought. If the agency isn't providing bespoke strategy connected directly to the sales floor, why do they even exist? That is something for everyone to mull over. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking the hard questions, and the next time you are sitting in a meeting being served a beautiful presentation, make sure you know exactly who is in the kitchen cooking the meal.